Now, it's no secret that Japan is home to some of the best watch brands in the world, but what a lot of people don't know is that these watch brands often keep some of the best models for the Japan domestic market. That means that there are a ton of awesome watches that don't make it into stores outside of Japan. And having lived in Japan for the last 10 years, I gotta tell you, I have never seen Japanese watches as affordable as they are right now. Right now, at the time of this video, the yen to dollar exchange rate is wildly in favor of the dollar. So if you're paying in dollars, that means for you the price of JDM watches, which are sold in yen, is at an all-time low. And for this video, I've gone out and found 4 more awesome JDM watches to show you, and also tell you how you can get your hands on them if you live outside of Japan. Let's check them out. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave. I live in Japan and I love to collect affordable watches. A few months back, I did a video looking at 5 affordable JDM watches that are available here. You guys seem to really like that video, so I figured we might as well do a follow-up. And once again, Discovery Japan Mall has sponsored this video. They did that by supplying all 4 of the watches that I'm going to be showing you today. So if you live outside of Japan and you are interested in getting your hands on one of these 4 watches, I'll leave links to them down below. You can check them out. Now, Discovery Japan Mall has a ton of products from Japan, not just watches, but their watch selection is really impressive. And they do a wonderful job of connecting people outside of Japan with sellers here in Japan. And they have a very seamless process for purchasing products over here and getting them shipped to wherever in the world you live. And since the last video that I did with them, a lot of you guys have purchased watches from Discovery Japan Mall. I asked you about it and I got a lot of good feedback. People said they had great support from them. They were able to get their watches shipped very quickly. So I definitely recommend them as a place to check out if you're looking to get your hands on JDM watches. Their prices are a little bit higher than you would pay if you're actually in Japan, but that's kind of the way it goes to get one of these exporters to ship the watch to you overseas. Now, for this video, I set a price cap of the equivalent of $350 US, at least at the time of recording this. And all of these watches were available for well under that directly from Discovery Japan Mall. And like I said, there's some really good deals available right now. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look at our first watch. We're going to check out a watch from Seiko's Spirit line, which is one of their JDM lines. The Spirit line tends to feature really well-spec'd quartz watches from Seiko. And this first one that we're looking at really offers a lot. The Seiko Spirit SBPY119 packs in one of the best feature sets that I've ever seen in a chronograph watch. You get a solar-powered quartz movement that has a smooth sweeping 1/5 of a second chronograph hand, a sapphire crystal, 100 meters of water resistance, pretty good finishing, and a really well-made solid link bracelet that has its own unique style to it. But for me, maybe the coolest feature of this chronograph is its 3rd subdial, which gives you a small 12-hour dual time that can be set independently from the main time and also can be used as an alarm function. I've seen so many Seiko chronographs that include a 24-hour hand that is slaved to the main time and can't be independently set. So it's so cool to finally see a Seiko watch that gives you an independently set second time zone on a subdial like this. And the fact that that subdial also houses an alarm is just icing on the cake. So the way this little subdial at 6 o'clock works is when you pull the crown all the way out to the time setting mode, you can use the bottom chronograph pusher to independently set the time of that 6 o'clock subdial. Now, if you primarily want to use the alarm function, I would recommend setting that 12-hour subdial to the same as your main time, because the alarm function is tied to whatever time is on that 6 o'clock subdial. When you want to set an alarm, you pull the crown out to the date setting position and use the bottom chronograph pusher to advance the hands on the 6 o'clock subdial to the time you want the alarm to go off. When the time on the subdial catches up to wherever you set the alarm will go off. So what that means is you can't really use it as a second time zone while you have an alarm set, and you do kind of have to choose one or the other. And while it would be nice if you could have a dual time and an alarm both fully functional on the watch, I'm really glad that Seiko at least gives you the option to pick one or the other, rather than kind of deciding for you and forcing you into one option. On top of all of this functionality, I think you're getting a really great looking chronograph with a more modern design and a highly legible layout. The hands are coated in white so they stand out very clearly against the jet black dial, and all of the markings are easy to read and understand. Now, there are a few shortcomings on this watch. For one, there's no lume anywhere on the dial. And it's always a little bit disappointing seeing a watch from Seiko without lume, because typically when they do lume, it's pretty awesome. This watch also features a press-on case back, which is a little bit surprising given the high water resistance of 100 meters. Normally this is going to cause an issue when it comes to battery changing, but since this is a solar-powered watch, you're not really going to ever have to change the battery yourself, so I don't think it's as big of an issue here. And while this watch does have a nicely finished bracelet with solid links, the end links are hollow and the clasp is kind of mediocre and only features 2 micro adjusts. So you may have a difficult time getting a perfect fit on the bracelet. But for the price that you can get this watch at right now, Seiko just really doesn't offer anything else like this in their catalog. Sitting at around this $200 price point, I think this is one of the best value chronographs around right now. Okay, next up we're going to move over to one of Seiko's sister companies and check out a watch from Orient. This one is part of Orient's discontinued World Stage collection. Now this is a pretty old collection of watches. It's been discontinued for a while, but there's still a ton of them available over here and the prices have gone down a lot. I featured one of them previously here on the channel. That one actually is also available from Discovery Japan Mall. A lot of people saw that video and have been asking where you can get it. They do still have that one available on Discovery Japan Mall if you want to check that one out or check out the review of that previous one. But there are a lot of models from this World Stage collection that are still floating around over here, and I thought it'd be really cool to check out one of them now. Well, this is an old model Orient from 2010. It still has one feature that puts it above a lot of Orient's current dress watch offerings, and that is a sapphire crystal. It also features a really beautiful dial, a great size, along with a great style that I think makes it still worth looking into, especially at the price that it's available at now. Now the price on these watches do tend to fluctuate from what I've seen here. Right now they're sitting at a little bit above what you would pay for a Bambino, but while the Bambinos only give you a mineral crystal, this one gives you a sapphire crystal. And having a virtually scratch-proof crystal, I think, is a pretty big upgrade on a dress watch. I really love the dial color on this. I think Orient just did a great job. It's this kind of grayish blue with a beautiful sunburst effect, and the finishing on the Roman numerals and on the hands is also excellently done. The case is very slim with a total height of just 10.8 millimeters, so you wouldn't have any problem at all with it getting caught on the cuffs of your dress shirts. But there are some areas on this watch where the age of the watch really shows through, most notably in the movement. This features an older generation Orient caliber, which lacks both hacking and hand winding. The lack of hand winding is particularly a pain, as once the movement's wound down, in order to get it going again, you have to shake it back and forth until you get enough juice inside of it. And that'll be a little bit of a pain if this is a watch that you're going to save for special occasions and not wear on a daily basis. Now, overall finishing on the watch is pretty good. However, the bracelet is kind of an interesting story. It is actually good looking and pretty comfortable, but it features a mixture of solid and hollow links. So the outside segments of the links are solid, but the center segment is hollow. And the result is a bracelet that is a little bit on the rattly side and does feel a little bit cheaper than a full solid link bracelet normally would. The clasp was kind of a pleasant surprise. It feels pretty high quality. You get 3 micro adjusts, and while the inner portion is a very slim, flat metal, it feels and looks a lot higher quality than most of the pressed inner clasps that I've seen on cheaper watches. Finally, they've also gone with hollow end links here, so again, another kind of cheaper measure on the bracelet. Now, this being a dress watch, it will look great on a leather strap. However, that does lead to one other thing that I'm not particularly thrilled about with this, and that is the sort of wide 22mm lug width, which I think looks a little bit unwieldy on this 40mm case. One final thing to note is that this watch does feature lume on both the hands, and then little lume pips around the outside of the markers, and it's comparable to the lume on most dress watches I've seen, which is to say pretty terrible. But it's better than nothing and will allow you to read the watch for a few minutes after the lights go out. So all in all, I'm kind of on the fence on this one a bit. It does give you what I consider to be the most important features on a dress watch, that 40mm size, the 11mm slimness, sapphire crystal, and an elegant design. And it does give you all of these features at a very reasonable price, but there are a lot of compromises you'd have to make as well. So I think you'd really have to be drawn to the style of this watch to make it worthwhile to pick up. Okay, now if you guys are watching this video after it's come out, maybe months down the road, you might see that the prices have changed, maybe the exchange rate has shaken up and the yen's made a comeback, or maybe a lot of these watches are just no longer available. That tends to happen with a lot of these JDM watches, particularly the older model ones. So it's a great reason to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. When I find a great deal on a watch, I like to bring it to you guys. But a lot of times in order for you to take advantage of that deal, you're going to have to buy it pretty quickly before it disappears. And the best way to do that is to be subscribed so that you can see the videos as soon as they come out. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, definitely invite you to do that. I cover not only JDM watches, but micro brand watches and all sorts of watches in the affordable price range. I also have cool t-shirts over on my t-shirt store at justthewatch.com. You can pick up this one here, along with a lot of other great designs. Check it out, help support the channel. But let's get back into the list and check out our next watch. And with that, we're going to head over to Citizen, who is probably most well known for their Eco Drive quartz watches, but they also have a lot of great automatic offerings. This one is an ISO certified diver that you can pick up for like around $250 right now. Let's take a look at it. With its vintage stylings and plated brown case that's meant to make this stainless steel watch look like it's made out of patinaed bronze, you might get the impression that the Citizen Promaster NY0125 is all style and no substance. But with a 200-meter ISO certified diver's rating and an anti-magnetic case, this watch boasts the technical features that make it more than worthy of its Promaster name. And it does all this at a modest 41mm case size and an equally modest price. Now, in the affordable price range, there are not a lot of watch brands that go through the trouble of getting an ISO diver's rating on their watches. But it's a really cool, really desirable thing to know that a watch not only boasts a high water resistance rating, but actually has tested it, proven it, and certified that it can actually work at the depths that it's stated. Seiko is another brand that commonly does this on their entry-level dive watches, but this watch from Citizen significantly undercuts the cost of those entry-level Seiko dive watches. The fact that you can find a dive watch with these features from a reputable Japanese brand like Citizen for around $250 is actually kind of insane right now. And I think the size of this watch also further sets it apart from Seiko. Most of Seiko's ISO certified dive watches in this affordable price range come in at a much larger case size. This one gives you a very manageable 41mm diameter, albeit with a somewhat long 50mm lug to lug. And the vintage look of this watch is also really cool. The case shape features some very sleek curves to it, with those long lugs stretching out to a 20mm opening. And while the crystal is only mineral, I absolutely love the shape of it. It has a beautiful dome to it with these edges that just really catch the light in a great, interesting way. And that mineral crystal is somewhat protected as the bezel does stretch slightly above the top of it. Speaking of the bezel, that's also one of my favorite parts of this watch. Rather than your standard 120-click bezel, this one features a 60-click bezel, which if executed poorly can come across as really cheap, but if done well can be so satisfying. Citizen did a great job here with these very big chunky clicks with no backplay and each click locking firmly into place and aligning perfectly with the chapter ring. You're not going to get the precision that a 120-click bezel offers, but the action on this bezel just feels great, and it also has a lot of grip to it. It's real easy to get your hands on and turn it around. Finally, this being a JDM watch, it does feature a day date, and for the day, they're giving you both an option for English and Japanese kanji. Kanji day wheels are one of my favorite things on Japanese watches, so it's really cool to see that implemented here. And the silicone rubber bracelet is comfortable, high quality, and matches the retro looks of this watch perfectly. This being a dive watch, lume is an important factor, and while the lume here isn't outstanding, I think it's just good enough. In testing, it came out with a J-score of 7, which puts it a step behind Seiko's lume, and way behind Orient's frankly insane amount of lume that they put on their entry-level divers. And yeah, if you love lume, make sure you check out my review of that Orient Baby Triton. It's about the same price as this watch, and the lume is just crazy. But back to the Citizen watch, the last thing to note is the movement inside of it. This features a Citizen 8204 automatic movement. Now, Citizen also owns Miyota, so essentially this is a Miyota movement, but it is one that has been updated to have both hacking and hand winding. You get accuracy similar to what you get out of Seiko movements, as well as your standard 40-hour power reserve. The main drawback to these Citizen or Miyota movements is that you get a lot of rotor spin, given that this is a unidirectional winding rotor, and you can definitely feel that on the wrist at times. But all that said, I think this is a really interesting watch that gives you a lot of things in this sub $300 price range that are very unique, particularly that ISO diver's rating, the anti-magnetic case, and that 60-click bezel. Those features really demand your attention if you're looking for an affordable dive watch under $300. Finally, we're going to check out a watch from Alba, and this is another company that is related to Seiko over here. This is kind of Seiko's budget brand. It's very similar to Loris over in Europe, but here in Asia, they market a lot of these similar watches under the Alba brand name. This is the second Alba that I've done a review on. The other one was a titanium watch with a fully loomed dial. That one has been discontinued and now sold out. It's very hard to find, but this one's kind of similar, also at a really affordable price. Let's take a look at it. To me, this little watch from Alba, I think, makes the perfect camping watch or perfect outdoor hiking watch. It comes in at a price and style that is similar to a lot of Timex's offerings, but with significantly better specs. You get a stainless steel case, 100 meters of water resistance, and most importantly, a solar-powered movement. And it's hard to find those features in a watch for under 50 bucks. But this watch does have one major flaw in my opinion, and that's that there is absolutely no lume at all on the dial or the hands. And that really surprised me because the hands even look like they have a bit of a greenish tint to them. So I think that really was a big miss for this watch, particularly given how awesome the lume was on that fully loomed dial from the other Alba that I reviewed a little while ago. That said, this watch is still really great for the price. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy to find a watch with this smaller 36.5 millimeter case diameter. That'll definitely make it wear well on people with smaller wrists, but really for anybody, this is going to be a watch that's going to be extremely comfortable and will pretty much disappear on your wrist, which is really what you want in an outdoor kind of sporting watch like this. I think this watch is a true tool watch. With its 100 meters of water resistance, it's going to be fine for any water activities. And at least in the daytime, the dial is highly legible with a lot of great contrast. Finally, the watch does feature both a day and date complication. And since it is a JDM watch, you get the option of either English or the Japanese kanji for the day display. This watch also features a snap-on case back, which is a little bit disappointing, but once again, this is a solar-powered movement, so you're not going to be changing batteries here. All in all, this is another great little watch from Alba at a really affordable price. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the video today. Thank you so much for watching. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite watch that was featured in this video was. Of the four, my personal favorite was that Seiko Spirit watch, but that Citizen Promaster Diver I thought was also pretty cool as well. And again, if you are interested in purchasing any of these watches, I'll leave links to Discovery Japan Mall where you can check out these watches along with many others. That will wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.